I'd eat like a Viet. I love it because it's less than 5 ingredients and one pot, literally. So if you hate washing up, but you love good food, this is the one for you, okay? And it's cheap, so always a bonus. Okay, so we're gonna get started. In this bowl, guys, I've made my own crepe batter. So I've got some rice flour, some corn flour, some turmeric, sugar, salt, and a bit of baking powder, okay? I know it might sound fast to you, but I've got the recipe online. So if you click the link, you'll be able to find it. So I'm not going to go through the measurements with you guys, okay? Now to this...
Hang on one sec, Jenny. We're just going to talk a bit more about your restaurant and things because we're live on Facebook now too. Okay, I might get you to just say those ones for these ones.
Oh, okay.
Well.
Which camera am I looking at?
Instagram and
this one? The middle one. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I've been looking at this one. Okay.
This one's Instagram.
Ah, okay. Hello Instagram, hello Facebook, hello everyone else who's tuning in. Xin chào. Welcome to our Vietnamese cooking lesson today with Kitchen Warehouse. I'm making one of my favorite recipes today. It's called bánh xèo, which is a savory turmeric crepe. I love this recipe because it's really nice and fresh and it's really filling and you get a really nice adventure of different flavors and also greens and herbs. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you just join in and miss maybe the whole introductions, feel free to ask questions as we go along if you're getting a little bit lost, okay? We're making 2 versions of the savory crepe today. The traditional version, it is a home recipe, so it might be a bit different from the one you know. And I'm also going to make a vegan one today as well upon special requests. Today's whole theme, in fact, for the Vietnamese recipes is vegan and vegetarian, okay? All right, so in here, guys, we have rice flour. We have corn flour. Corn flour is great for adding a bit more crunch and having a really nice lace edging. So you'll see that today when I fry it. We've got some turmeric, which gives it color and flavor, sugar, salt, and a little bit of baking powder in here, okay? To this, guys, we're gonna add our water. Just pour it in. So it's a litre of water there, guys. And we're also going to add our coconut milk. Now, 1 can. Okay, this brand is amazing, all right, guys? And I reckon I've tried every single type of coconut milk or coconut cream that you can think of. And it's such a big difference to the end result, especially if you're making desserts. This is just beautifully fragrant. And it's a product of Thailand, this one. And I find that if you are going to go out and purchase coconut cream, coconut milk, if it comes from the Asian countries, now, not all the time, but generally you actually get a much better flavor on them, okay? Only because it's so surplus, like there's copious amounts of coconut everywhere. There's more coconut than there is water, so clean, fresh water. So I find that Chef's Choice is amazing, really cheap too. It's about $2 a can, and it's beautiful, okay? So in here, guys, you can see the beautiful color on my batter. You want to rest this crepe batter for half an hour. It gives the rice flour and the corn flour time to expand into the water and absorb a bit more. If you fry it right now, you'll find that the flour hasn't had a chance to actually amalgamate properly with all that liquid contents, and you just won't get a better finish, okay? Now, because we're doing half vegan today and half traditional, just with the second bowl, guys, I'm just going to tip half of it out. Give it a good stir, make sure it's all incorporated. I reckon that's about half. Okay. And just a tip, guys, if you're working with turmeric, do not wear white, okay? Maybe that's why I chose the yellow mustard dress today, because turmeric, honestly, is worse than like chili oil. It does not come out. It is a beast to wash. So make sure that when you're cooking with turmeric, cover up the white benches, make sure there's no white tea towels around. It is a mess, okay? All right. So then maybe you might ask, why do we even need to bother with eggs? You know, if there's a vegan alternative, you know, why would you add it in? Eggs will do 3 things for this. 1, it speeds up the resting time. It also makes it a bit more forgiving. It's a binding ingredient. So you can imagine when you're frying your pancake, if you've got a bit of egg in there, just imagine you're making a bit of an omelette. It just helps it stick. It helps it not stick to the pan. So it's just a bit more, it also adds more flavor as well. Gives it a bit more of a bite. Okay, so whisk that egg in. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. All over Vietnam as well, guys, they do many variations of this recipe based on the region. So, for example, if you're somewhere like in Nha Trang, which is a coastal town, they'll actually use a lot more seafood in the filling, as opposed to the traditional pork or prawn, or today I'm doing a vegetarian one. But I think that's what I love about this recipe, is that it's a thin crepe that is filled with goodies. So, you know, you could almost, if you were making this at home, you could use whatever you had in the fridge. Today we're going to be using just some button mushrooms. I've got some onions that I've just thinly sliced there, and bean sprouts is a must. To your crepe batter as well, guys, we're just going to add some spring onions. So just finely chop on these. It just gives these your pancake a bit of colour and also flavour as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just ask in comments. I'm sure Joe will let me know. Okay. So we're going to put half the spring onions into the traditional mix and then half into our vegan mix. All right. And whilst that's resting, guys, we're going to move on to our second dish of the day, our bonus recipe. Now, this recipe isn't online at the moment. It will be for you next week. Or I'll walk you through the... I'll get a new whisk for that one so I don't contaminate. I'll leave that for now. But with this recipe, guys, I'll walk you through the ingredients and the measurements, so you can feel free to write it down. Otherwise, just hop onto the website next week and we'll have it up there for you, okay? So, we've got an eggplant. You just need one, okay? We're going to cut off the head. Get rid of that. Ooh. Top and tail it. And we're going to make some wedges out of this. This one's quite big, so we actually might even go... Nah, actually. I like doing simple wedges. And I like the skin on when it comes to eggplant. For this particular dish, we're going to braise it. I find that it helps keep it together as well without breaking. And because it's quite a large eggplant, I'd comfortably say this is probably would feed 3 people. I need it with steamed rice, okay guys? So we've got our pot. We're going to put our eggplant in. It's already been washed. All right, so eggplant's all in, guys. To this, we're going to add some soy sauce. I'll get a measuring cup. All right, cool. So far, guys, we have 1 large eggplant cut into wedges. We're going to add a 1/3 cup of soy sauce. All right, over that goes. Now, this is in my cookbook as well. It's also one of my favorite soy sauce brands. It's Vietnamese. And once again, all soy sauces are different. Every single brand is different. Japanese soy sauce is different from Vietnamese soy sauce. And it's because they're aware of what most likely it's going to be served with. So if you actually take notice, if you taste Japanese soy sauce versus Vietnamese soy sauce, it's actually a lot more salty because generally it goes with, it was traditionally for eating with raw fish. So it has a very strong taste to actually help just elevate the flavor of all the raw fish that you're eating. I find this particular soy sauce, it has other elements. Like I know there's sugar in this, there's also acidity balances in there, so it's a bit more of a mellow soy sauce. Great for cooking and also just eating as well. So we'll put that aside, guys. And then we've got some coconut water. Okay? So we're going to go in All right, with 2 cups of, let's start with 1. So it's about 400 mils, okay guys? So we got a 1/3 cup of soy sauce, 400 mils of coconut water. Once again, another one of my favorite brands. Easily picked up at the Asian grocery store. Otherwise, Coco Bella is quite good as well. And I love sharing my brands because this one has no added sugar. It comes from Asia once again. I think this one's from Vietnam actually. So you just know, like for anybody who has traveled, gone overseas, gone to Vietnam, there's a big difference in if you buy a coconut in Vietnam versus if you bought one here. I imagine they import it anyway, but it is a very, very good product, okay? And we're gonna add a touch of sugar to this. Get our sugar out. Because there was no added sugar in the coconut water, we're gonna add a bit of sugar that will help with the caramelization, and once it reduces, it will help actually make the sauce sticky as well, okay? So we'll grab a... All right, I'm gonna start with a tablespoon of sugar, guys, and we can always adjust as we go. Okay, tablespoon of sugar. And we just need some black cracked pepper. Joe, if I was looking for pepper. All right, and we're not going to add any salt at the moment, okay, guys? For this particular dish anyway, don't salt it just yet because depending on how far you reduce it, and which soy sauce you're using, like I mentioned, some other brands are a lot more salty versus others. So once the eggplant is cooked, we're going to taste it, and if need, we can always add a little bit more salt then, okay? So all I do now, I'm just going to find some black pepper, but you need a saucepan with the lid. We're going to pop it on the stove. And I'm going to turn it on to high. You want to bring that essentially to the boil, guys. There's a lot of liquid in there at the moment. It's probably about halfway up all my eggplants. And what you want that to do is bring it to the boil, and then the steam will actually help to cook that eggplant as well. It literally sits there for about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe at the most, maybe 25 to 30. But how good is that? It's just so simple. It's one pot. I've used one knife and a chopping board, and it's less than 5 ingredients. That whole pot probably costs you less than, what is that? Maybe less than $5, and it tastes $1 million. So love that recipe. I grew up eating this with just steamed rice, and it's one of my faves, okay? So hope everyone who's a vegan eater falls in love with that one as well. I'm gonna come back to my crepe batter now. Perfect. You know that your crepe batter is ready because you can actually start to feel flour settling at the bottom of it when you give it a whisk, and the liquid isn't as thin. So this is my vegan one, guys. How beautiful is that color? So you can see how nice and thin that is. And then this is the one with egg. So they're pretty similar. Just grab a measuring cup. Perfect. So you can see that one's a little bit thicker, guys, just by a slightest. It's because of the egg that's in there as well. Alrighty. So before I start any cooking, guys, I just want to walk you through how you eat bun cell as well, okay? Something I prepared earlier. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through how you serve it, how you eat it, okay? I'm sure the crowd here would love to get their hands on this, so I won't eat one. I'll let the crew eat it. And also the dressing that goes with it as well, okay? Nuoc Mam is basically in every single Vietnamese household. When my mom or my aunties would make this, they would make it in literally in 3-4 liters and just keep it in the fridge. Because it starts with a sugar syrup, it actually keeps in the fridge very well. You actually want to make this well in advance and have a lot in the fridge because you're using ingredients like garlic and chili. I just find that the longer it sits in the sugar syrup and the fish sauce, it just really develops that flavor there, okay? So Nuoc Mam chua, is a simple sugar syrup, and then so that gives it a sweetness and the thickness and body. And then all you do to that is you add fish sauce, vinegar or lemon, whichever one you prefer, and then you add garlic and chili, okay? Now the key to winning with this dressing is always that balance, you know, between sweet, saltiness and sour, okay? So each person will have their own liking of how spicy they want to make it or how much garlic to add, but that's essentially the famous Vietnamese dressing that's served with most of our dishes, okay? So that, once again, guys, is in my cookbook that's coming out. You can also, if you're local and you live in WA and you can't be bothered, we actually sell a whole litre at Bummy for $10, so which is always a good steal, okay? I don't know if you guys can see into my pot, but can you hear it? Hey, so my eggplant is starting to boil away now. And as it starts to boil...
Hey Jenny, I was going to ask a question. Are we good for the mic? Yep. Someone was asking about your book on Facebook. You've just mentioned it or whatever. How long are we thinking till it's out?
The latest will be Christmas. Okay, guys, COVID-19 obviously had a few interruptions with it, but we're looking to potentially actually print locally at the moment. So the latest will be Christmas. Pre-orders will be ready in a month's time, which is exciting. We're currently working on finalizing the landing page, and your pre-orders are more than welcome to come through. If you're not following me already, please find me on Instagram or Facebook, and details will come out as soon as they're available. So we're a few weeks away, guys, from pre-orders. And it's a great pre-order for Mother's Day, because anybody who does pre-order for Mother's Day will actually get a good little gift in there as well. I hope that answers your question. All right. Did we find the black pepper? Oh, yes, here it is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to lift the lid on this, guys. And we're going to add some black cracked pepper. Fresh black cracked pepper will actually enhance the dish and also change the taste as well. So it's probably about a good teaspoon. We'll pop the lid back on. Can you guys smell that? So good. Ooh, falling over. Okay. So it's boiling now. I'm gonna let it keep boiling, and then I'll reduce it after about 10 minutes, okay? I might switch this around so everyone can see a bit better. All right. There we go. All right. I'm just gonna find myself some oil. Just vegetable oil. Yeah, found it. Oh, peanut oil. Peanut's fine as well. I think there is some vegetable here. Oh no, I'll use this one. All right, guys. All right, let's get. Oh, sorry. I was before I fry my crepe, I was walking you guys through the ingredients. So that's nuoc băm, guys. Okay, so that's our dressing for today. And then here, pickles are a must with Vietnamese food. It's just some carrot and daikon. All you do to pickle your veg is just a sugar syrup, once again, with a bit of vinegar, a bit of salt in there, and you can literally do it a few hours before you eat it. If you're desperate, even half an hour before is pretty decent. But like I said, this is something that every Vietnamese household will have like a whole jar worth of, okay? So it just helps to add a bit more balance and freshness. And I think that's what the crux of Vietnamese food is, that it's always very well balanced. There's always a balance of texture, something soft, something crunchy, and something fresh to just help lighten the meal, okay? Got some cucumber, and this is got to be my favorite vegetable green, okay? You don't hear much about it, and I think a lot of people don't know about it. That's why they don't buy it. So hopefully today someone's going to experiment, guys. Don't eat this with lettuce, okay? I don't think you can even buy lettuce in Vietnam. It doesn't exist. We eat what's called gai san, okay? Or it's called mustard greens, all right? So these have already been washed and prepped. I've cut off the bottom stalk, but they're like 90 cents at the Asian grocery store, okay? So if you're going in there, just ask them for mustard greens, and you can buy a whole bunch for like $1, okay? It has a really nice wasabi taste, okay? So if you can imagine if wasabi was a vegetable, but maybe a bit more fresh, that's exactly what mustard green tastes like, okay? So we're gonna eat that with our pancake today. Okay, so that's how we're serving it, guys. Let's get frying to this crepe. I'm gonna leave that there. All right, so my pan's nice and hot now, guys. Today I'm using a griddle pan as well. I like the griddle pan for this particular recipe because the griddle marks actually help to give it extra crisp, okay? So don't have it too high. You probably wanna have it on a medium heat. Otherwise your crepe will burn before the inside cooks. Give it a snap. Okay. All right, we're gonna add a touch of oil to our pan. Not too much, especially if it's non-stick already, there's just no need. If you actually have too much oil, what will happen is your crepe will just slide, so it doesn't actually stick to the pan. So I think I've got a bit too much in there, guys. I'm just gonna take some out. So if you're using non-stick, guys, maybe even a spray might do you a bit better, okay? All right, so we'll start with our traditional one. I wanna try and rest the vegan one as long as possible. So we'll bring it over. Oh, actually, before I do that, okay. So to start, guys, we're gonna add the onion in. You should always hear a sizzle. If you don't hear a sizzle, your pan's not hot enough, okay? And then mushrooms. Now, if you're starting off, if you watch my dumpling one from last week, don't overfill your crepe, okay? If there's too much in there, it'll just be really heavy and it's hard for you to lift. So if it's your first time making it, add less filling and then work your way up. I'm gonna add a touch more oil. And to this, guys, you can add a bit of salt and pepper as well. I've lost my salt. Awesome, thank you. And just a touch of salt. Okay. Once you can smell all your ingredients and the onions are soft, it's ready for your crepe batter. Okay, I'm happy with that, guys. So the onions are soft. The mushrooms have a beautiful color on them, slight brown. You're gonna take your crepe batter. Oh, put foil in. Okay, cool. All right, guys, it's about half a cup. So this is a full cup. So I got half a cup of batter here. Pour it in. And give it a swirl. Now, I talk about this on the recipe. If you are looking online, I call it the walls of the pan. Yeah, so this one's a little bit shallow, but it'll still work. Can you see what I'm doing there? So I'm actually rolling the crepe batter around the edges. And if you guys, I don't know if you can see into that pan, but can you see that beautiful kind of bubbling around the edges? That will become beautiful lace. And that's what they call it, so lace on the crepe, and it's just really nice and crunchy and gives it this beautiful flavor and color, okay? So I'm gonna reduce that down a little bit. I don't want it hot anymore. So once my mushrooms are cooked, I want to take this down to about probably a low heat. I'm just going to give my induction a quick clean. Yeah, all right. So we're going to keep it on about a 5, guys, and I'm going to add my bean sprouts now. Okay. Just a little bit. And then from here, guys, we're going to cover that up. Give me a sec. So probably just some sort of lid. Yeah, I'll just do this. All right, guys. Obviously, it's not exact lid, but it doesn't matter because you're actually covering it to steam the bean sprouts, okay? Otherwise, they'll be a bit crunchy, and I prefer them soft. So keep the lid on, guys, for maybe a minute or 2. You just want enough so that the bean sprouts go soft, and then we're ready to flip it over. All right. Okay, hot. Let's check on our eggplant. It's looking good. We're going to reduce it down to a simmer now. So it's been going for about 10 minutes. Perfect. If you leave your eggplant on boiling the whole time, you just run the risk that all the liquid will evaporate and it's probably over caramelizing. So you need that eggplant to cook first before you reduce it any further. I might actually turn that eggplant. So give me a sec, guys. Can you guys smell that? It's divine. Just careful when you handle the eggplant. It's starting to get quite soft, so if you're a bit rough with it, it's going to break. It smells delicious. You definitely want to turn that eggplant as well because the top that's steaming isn't all underneath the liquid. So as it sits in the broth, I'm going to call it the broth. It will just absorb all that flavour. Lid back on. I want to reduce it a little bit more. All right, perfect. And I reckon our crepes will be about ready. All right. So you can see this side, guys, of the crepe is almost ready because I can just tell by the colour of looking at it, but you can tell on this side of the pan it's not. So we'll just move it around to get a bit more heat where we want it. Oh, it's wrong one. Okay. And we can have a cheeky little... You actually want to leave the crepe sticking to that non-stick pan for as long as possible, not to burn, but once it gets golden, because that will all become crispy and crunchy. It should look like a bit of a crumpet if you're looking down at it. It should have lots of little holes.
So Jenny, how many pancakes do you think your restaurant sells a week?
Oh, well, we go through about batter-wise, so this batter makes 12 and we do 2 a day. So we do 24 a day, times that by 7 days a week. It's a lot of pancakes, about 100 and something. Yeah. More in summer, it's quite a light dish, but yeah, on top of everything else, so it's a good amount.
And what's your favourite dish to cook for in Vietnam? From your book, what's your favourite dish to cook?
There's too many. There's literally too many. No, that's too hard a question. I think it depends on your mood. Because if it's cold and wintry, then I love like a beef pho. But if I'm sick, Colin and I were talking about this yesterday. My friend, we were saying I love congee. Like it's called jiao. But it's like the chicken soup, for when you're Vietnamese, if you're sick, that's what you eat. So that's in there as well. And then, if it's summer, there's like things like papaya and prawn salad, which is amazing and fresh. So it just really depends. Depends on the day, the weather, if I'm entertaining. Yeah.
And did you photograph your book in Vietnam?
Yes. So Craig Kinder, who's a WA food photographer, he actually came with me over to Vietnam. So it was a really cool adventure. We were there for about a week. He came back to my hometown where Mum grew up, and he lived and stayed with us for a week. And this is a house that only in the last few years got refrigeration, got air conditioning. When I first went over there, it was compacted dirt as the ground. So it was really, really cool. And I remember I learned how to kill a chicken for the first time. Auntie's like, "Do you want to eat chicken tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And she's like, "All right, let's go kill one." I was like, I suppose it's very free range, very fresh. All right, let's have a look at this crepe. I think it's turning off my stove.
Does it keep turning off?
Yeah. But I think it's because I'm maybe over the buttons.
With the induction.
It's looking good though. Looking very good. Yeah. So can you guys see these? Once they cool down, I'll have to let go of this. They call it lace. But the corn flour and the rice flour just create this beautiful, it's almost like if you've had a tuile before, or like a waffle cone, it's the same thing. Once flour and water dries or cooks through, it's just really crunchy. That's delicious. All right. A bit longer. Once your pan heats up a lot more as well, guys, the next crepe and the next crepe will become a lot easier. The first one's always probably the most tricky. But I think we're doing all right. Okay. So, I'm gonna peel this off now. Oh, I wish you guys, can you guys get a close-up of that? All right, because we always work with non-stick as well, okay guys? A normal pan will not work for making crepes. All right, I'm gonna flip it the other way.
So Carol's asking on Facebook, how do you keep the batter? Can you store it in the fridge overnight? Does it help it, or?
Yeah. So the batter's just kept in the fridge, guys. It lasts like about 3 days before it probably gets a bit too, the flour transforms a bit too much. But yep, so all you need to do is the next day when you're using it, just add a little bit more water and then try to get it as close as to the consistency as it was the day before, okay? All right. So I'm going to take this one out, guys. I've had a bit of, it's stuck to the bottom a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to flip it and then we'll do another one. Ready? All right. I might try the other pan, guys. That one's stuck a little bit there. It's still delicious, but we'll do another one. Okay. Can I switch the pan? Yeah. I'm going to give that one a go. Careful, that one's hot. My induction top actually turned off halfway, so you don't want, you want to keep your pan hot the whole time, because if it kind of goes on and off, what will happen is that it starts to sweat, and then when it starts to sweat, the sugar starts to stick to the pan. So we'll give it a new pan, and I'll show you guys a new one.
Yep.
Yeah.
How come you choose to use a griddle one? Is it for the prettiness of the lines, or is, yeah, yep.
You get just extra crisp marks, really. I like having those, the more crispy bits, the better, if you ask me. All right, guys. So we're just going to wait for that pan to heat up, and then we'll do another one. We'll come over to our eggplant. That's looking amazing. Yeah. All right. Can the audience see into that? Oh no. I'm going to give that a quick taste, guys. You can see how beautiful. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. But the eggplant is now cooking down into our broth with the coconut water and soy sauce, the pepper. So it's a big pot of flavor there right now. I want to give it a quick taste to see if I need to add more salt, but I don't think I do. Just get a spoon. Is there a spoon, Jay? So can you guys see that color? Oh, that's beautiful. That is so yum. So you don't even need to add anything to that, guys. That's ready to eat with rice, which is really, really exciting.